3 months had passed since the incident in the council chamber. The galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The building that stood before Jiho now was proof of that change. It was tall and made of materials from dozens of different worlds. Above the entrance, a sign glowed in multiple languages. The Interspecies Empathy Institute. Jiho stood at the entrance with Bora by his side. Her scales glowed a happy purple as she looked at their new home. Behind them, a ship landed carrying more supplies and equipment. Nari stepped out, followed by a team of workers from various species. "The last of the lab equipment has arrived," Nari said, checking his datapad. "We are officially ready to open." "Good," Jiho said. "Let us show them around." The Institute was more than just a research center. It was a place where species could learn to see each other differently. The main hall had habitats for creatures that the galaxy had called dangerous. But here they lived peacefully, cared for by staff who treated them with kindness instead of fear. In one large tank, a shadow swarm floated gently. These beings were usually described as mindless clouds of destruction, but Yuna had discovered they were actually highly intelligent, and only attacked ships because they thought the engine sounds were mating calls. Once proper communication was established, they became curious and playful. "Look at them," Yuna said, standing beside the tank with wonder in her eyes. 3 months ago we would have shot them on sight. Now they are teaching us about their species' history. They have mathematics we have never seen before. They create art with their bodies. All this time we thought they were monsters. In another area, Minho worked with a crystal hunter. These creatures were famous for destroying mining operations. But Minho had learned they only attacked because miners were destroying their homes. The crystals that ships mined for fuel were actually the creatures' children, still in egg form. "We just needed to ask permission," Minho explained to a group of visiting council members. "Now the crystal hunters tell us where we can mine safely, and we help protect their nurseries. Everyone wins." The council members watched in amazement as Minho gently stroked the crystal hunter's side. The creature responded with musical sounds that made the air shimmer. Jiho walked through the institute with Bora, greeting the staff and checking on the residents. Each success story here was proof that his grandmother had been right. Kindness opened more doors than force ever could. They reached Jiho's office, a comfortable room with windows that looked out over a garden. Bora curled up in her favorite spot by the desk while Jiho reviewed messages on his computer. There were requests from all over the galaxy now. Planets asking for help with species conflicts, scientists wanting to study human empathy, even military forces asking to learn new approaches to first contact. A knock came at the door. "Come in," Jiho called. Hyun entered, his orange fur practically glowing with excitement. "Ambassador, you need to see this. We just received data from the Void Reaver homeworld expedition." Jiho sat up straight. "Already? I thought they were not due back for another week." "They came back early because of what they found." Hyun pulled up a hologram. It showed a beautiful planet covered in crystal forests. "This is the Void Reaver homeworld. Look at this." The image zoomed in to show Void Reavers moving through the forests. But they were not alone. Small versions of them played together, chasing each other between the crystal trees. Larger ones tended to gardens of glowing plants. They had built structures, created art, and lived in communities. "They are not predators," Jiho breathed. "They are farmers." "Yes," Hyun said. The expedition team learned that Void Reavers only left their planet because their sun was dying. They were looking for new homes. But everywhere they went, they were attacked on sight because of their appearance, so they defended themselves. The attacks on ships and colonies were not aggression. They were desperate attempts to survive. Jiho felt his chest tighten. All those deaths, all that fear, because nobody tried to talk to them first. "But we are talking to them now," Hyun said gently. "The council has approved resettlement plans. We are finding safe worlds where Void Reaver communities can live peacefully. It will take time, but it is happening." Bora lifted her head and made a soft sound. Somehow she seemed to understand what they were talking about. Jiho went to her and wrapped his arms around her neck. "You are going to have family again," he told her. "Real family, not just me." Her scales shifted through colors. Purple to blue to a warm gold that Jiho had learned meant happiness mixed with sadness. She knew she would have to say goodbye eventually. "Not yet," Jiho promised. "We still have work to do together first." More months passed. The Institute grew. More species were studied and understood. More conflicts were resolved through communication instead of violence. Humans became known throughout the galaxy as the bridge species. the ones who could talk to anyone. But it was not just humans doing the work anymore. Other species were learning too. Hyun had started a school teaching empathy and communication across species barriers. Taeyang, despite his fears, had enrolled and was learning to overcome his instincts. Even species that had been enemies for thousands of years were sitting down together, trying to understand each other. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, carefully, but definitely changing. One evening, Jiho stood on a balcony overlooking the Institute grounds. Below, dozens of species moved together peacefully. A crystal hunter played with a shadow swarm. A Quelon sat talking with a void reaver, both of them using new translation devices that carried not just words but emotions. Bora came to stand beside him, now comfortable enough to join him anywhere. Her scales glowed softly in the evening light. "You know what I think?" Jiho said to her. "I think my grandmother would have liked you. She always said the universe was full of friends we just had not met yet." She was right. Nari approached from behind, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Jiho. "The council wants you to speak at their annual gathering next month. They want you to talk about everything we have learned." "What should I say?" Jiho asked. "Tell them the truth," Nari said. "Tell them what you told me that first day. That fear makes everything worse. That kindness makes everything better. That the scariest thing in the universe is not knowing whether to trust someone, but the only way to find out is to try." Jiho smiled. "You have become wise, Nari." "I learned from the best," Nari said, gesturing to both Jiho and Bora. The next month, Jiho stood before the full Galactic Council. Every seat was filled. Every screen showed faces watching from across the galaxy. And beside him stood Bora, no longer seen as a threat but as a symbol of what the galaxy could become. 3 months ago, Jiho began, I did something that everyone thought was crazy. I approached a creature that the entire galaxy feared. I did not do it because I was brave. I did it because I saw someone in pain and I wanted to help. That is not special. That is just being kind. He looked around at all the different faces watching him. Every species here evolved differently. We all have different instincts, different fears, different strengths. But we all have one thing in common. We all want to survive. We all want to be safe. We all want to be understood. Bora moved closer and Jiho put his hand on her head. This creature could have killed me. She had every reason to, but when I showed her kindness, she gave it back. That is the truth about the universe. What you give is what you get. I know change is scary, he continued. I know it is easier to shoot first and ask questions later. But look at what we have learned in just 3 months. Species we thought were enemies are now friends. Creatures we thought were mindless are actually brilliant. Wars we thought were necessary were actually avoidable. He paused, letting his words sink in. My grandmother used to say that the deadliest predator can become the most faithful friend. All it takes is understanding, patience, and the courage to extend your hand first. I think it is time the galaxy learned that lesson. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then one by one council members stood. Not all of them. Some still looked afraid. Some still looked angry. But enough stood that it mattered. Enough stood that it meant something. Day stood last, his blue skin showing patterns of deep emotion. Ambassador Jiho has shown us a new path forward. It will not be easy. We have millions of years of fear to overcome, but if we do not try, we will never know what we could have been. The Council votes to expand the Interspecies Empathy Institute to every major world. We vote to make peaceful first contact our new standard. We vote to learn from humanity and from each other. The vote passed. Not unanimously, but it passed. And that was enough. After the session, Jiho returned to the Institute with Bora. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that reminded him of Bora's scales. They sat together in the garden, watching the last light fade. You know what the best part is? Jiho said. This is just the beginning. There are thousands of species out there we have not met yet. Thousands of potential friends. And now we know how to find them. Bora purred, the sound mixing with the evening breeze. Somewhere in the distance, someone was singing a song that blended 3 different species' music traditions into something new and beautiful. The galaxy was learning. The galaxy was changing. The council chamber fell silent as Councillor Day raised his hand. His blue skin rippled with patterns that Jiho had learned meant deep thought. Around the curved walls, hundreds of alien faces watched on screens, waiting to hear what would happen next. Ambassador Jiho, Day said carefully, What you did was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. We have not yet decided which. The Council needs to understand how this happened. We need to know if this was luck or if humans possess some ability we do not know about. It was not luck, said a voice from the back. A tall alien with gray skin and forearms stepped forward. This was Taeyang, a representative from the Quellan species. Jiho had read that they were prey animals who evolved on a world full of predators. This human approached a Void Reaver willingly. No sane being does that. I demand we investigate if humans have been modified with some kind of technology or chemical weapon. I was not modified, Jiho said. I did not use any technology. I just paid attention to what the creature was telling me through its body language. Body language? Taeyang's four eyes widened. Void Reavers do not have body language. They are killing machines. With respect, Counselor, that is not true. A new voice joined the conversation. A human woman entered the chamber carrying a data pad. She had short black hair and wore the uniform of Earth's Science Division. My name is Yuna. I am a xenobiologist specializing in predator behavior. May I present evidence to the Council? Day nodded. Please proceed. Yuna activated her data pad and holographic images appeared in the center of the chamber. They showed animals from Earth: lions, wolves, bears, sharks. These are some of the deadliest predators on our home world. Each one can kill a human easily. And yet humans have learned to live alongside them. Some humans even keep smaller predators in their homes as companions. The images changed to show humans petting dogs, riding horses, and swimming with dolphins. Several council members made sounds of shock. This is impossible, Taeyang said. Those creatures should kill you. They could, Yuna agreed. But they do not, because we have learned to understand them. Humans are unusual in the galaxy because we evolved as persistence hunters. We did not have claws or sharp teeth. We survived by being smart, by working together and by understanding the animals around us. Both the predators and the prey. She brought up a new image. It showed a human child hugging a large dog. We learned thousands of years ago that predators are not evil. They are just animals trying to survive. If you treat them with respect and kindness, they often respond the same way. We call it domestication. Domestication, Day repeated slowly. You are saying humans can domesticate any creature? Not exactly, Yuna said. But we have an ability to read emotional states across species barriers. We look for patterns in movement, in sounds, and behavior. Ambassador Jiho saw that the Void Reaver was acting defensive, not aggressive. He recognized pain responses. He responded appropriately. A small alien with orange fur stood up. This was Hyun, one of the Council's lead scientists. Dr. Yuna, are you seriously suggesting that all spacefaring species lack this ability? That only humans can do this? Not all species, Yuna said. But most spacefaring races evolved as either prey animals or isolated apex predators. Prey species learned to hide and avoid danger. Apex predators learned to dominate and control. Humans are different. We evolved in the middle. We were both hunter and hunted. We learned to understand both sides. She pulled up more data. Look at the records of human interactions since we joined the galactic community 6 months ago. Humans have successfully negotiated with species that others called hostile. We have made friends with races that were considered dangerous. This is not luck. This is how humans see the universe. Hyun looked at the data, his small eyes growing wider. By the stars. You are right. There are over 50 documented cases of humans successfully communicating with supposedly aggressive species. How did we miss this pattern? Because you were not looking for it, Jiho said. You saw dangerous creatures and assumed they were beyond reason. We saw beings in pain or fear and tried to help. This changes everything, Hyun said, his orange fur standing up with excitement. If Void Reavers can be calmed, what about other species we have classified as threats? What about the shadow swarms? The crystal hunters? Could they all be misunderstood? Now wait a moment, Taeyang said loudly. We cannot just ignore millions of years of evolution and survival instinct because one human pet, a Void Reaver. My people lost entire colonies to these creatures, and I am sorry for your loss, Jiho said quietly. But did anyone ever try to understand why the attacks happened? Or did you just fight back? Of course we fought back. What else would we do? Talk, Jiho said. Listen. Try to understand what they want. Maybe they were hungry. Maybe their homes were destroyed. Maybe they were scared. Void Reavers do not get scared, Taeyang insisted. As if on cue, the chamber doors opened. Nari walked in, looking uncomfortable. Behind him came Bora. moving carefully to avoid hitting anything with her large body. Her scales were a worried brown color, and she was making soft whining sounds. The creature refused to stay in the holding area, Nari explained. It kept trying to break out. We were afraid it would damage the ship, so I decided to bring it here. Please do not fire me. Bora's eyes scanned the chamber until they found Jiho. Immediately her scales shifted to bright purple. She moved quickly but carefully around the council members, who all pressed themselves against walls or tried to hide behind chairs. She reached Jiho and lowered her head, pressing it against his chest. It is okay, Jiho said softly, rubbing her scales. I am right here. I told you I would come back. The entire council watched in silence as the galaxy's deadliest predator purred like a kitten in the arms of a human. That, Hyun said quietly, is remarkable. The creature is clearly bonded to Ambassador Jiho. The color patterns, the vocalizations, the physical contact. This is social behavior we have never documented before. Because you never tried talking to them, Jiho said. You only tried killing them. Day stepped forward carefully. Bora's eyes tracked him, and her scales flickered red for a moment. Ambassador, may I approach? Ask her, not me, Jiho said. Day looked confused but turned to face Bora directly. Void Reaver, I mean no harm. May I come closer? Bora tilted her head, studying him. Then slowly her scales returned to purple. She made a soft chirping sound. I think that means yes, Jiho said. Day took a careful step forward, then another. When he was close enough, he slowly reached out one hand. Bora sniffed it, then allowed him to touch her scales. Day's face filled with wonder. Incredible, he whispered. She is warm, and these scales are beautiful up close. Other council members began to edge closer, curiosity overcoming fear. Not all of them. Taeyang stayed far back, his four eyes wide with what looked like terror, but others came forward, touching Bora's scales, listening to her purr. I propose we form a special committee, Hyun said excitedly. We need to study this. We need to understand how humans do this. Think of the possibilities. Species we thought were enemies could become allies. I propose something else, Jiho said. Let me take Bora to her homeworld. Let me see if there are more like her. Let me try to understand Void Reavers properly, not as threats but as living beings. That could be dangerous, Day said. Everything worth doing is a little dangerous, Jiho replied with a smile. Besides, I will have the best protection in the galaxy. He patted Bora's head and she purred louder. The council looked at each other. Finally, Day nodded. Very well. Earth has shown us something new today. Something we need to learn. Ambassador Jiho, you and your team will have the council's support to study Void Reavers and any other species you wish to examine. We will provide ships, supplies, and protection. Just one condition, Jiho said. No weapons. We approach them peacefully or we do not approach at all. There was a long pause. Then Day smiled, an expression that looked strange on his blue face but genuine. Agreed, no weapons. Let us see what happens when we try peace instead of war. As the council began to discuss the details, Jiho sat down on the floor with Bora curled around him. He thought about his grandmother, about her lessons on kindness. He thought about his old farm dog who had taught him that, even scared. Hurt creatures can become friends. And he thought about the future, about all the species in the galaxy that might just need someone to understand them. It was going to be quite an adventure. The doors to the chamber burst open with a crash that echoed off the broken walls. Nari rushed in first, followed by a dozen security officers in heavy armor. They all carried weapons that hummed with power, ready to fire, but when they saw what was happening inside, every single one of them froze. Jiho was sitting on the floor with his legs crossed. The Void Reaver, the creature that had sent the entire Galactic Council running in terror, had curled its massive body around him like a protective wall. Its scales glowed with that soft purple color, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The creature's huge head rested on Jiho's lap, and Jiho was petting it like it was a cat. Sir? Nari said carefully, his weapon lowering slightly. What did you do? Jiho looked up and smiled. I helped it. It was hurt and scared. Once I removed the debris from its wound, it calmed down. One of the security officers made a sound that the translator could not quite process. It was somewhere between a laugh and a gasp. You removed debris from a Void Reaver's wound? Ambassador, do you understand what you just did? I helped an injured animal, Jiho said simply. That is not an animal, another officer said. That is the galaxy's most dangerous predator. That thing has ended civilizations. The Void Reaver lifted its head slightly and looked at the security team. Its 6 eyes focused on them, and its scales flickered red for just a moment. The officers all took a step back, but then Jiho put his hand on the creature's head and it settled back down. The scales returned to purple. "I think you are scaring it," Jiho said. "Could you lower your weapons, please?" "Lower our—" Nari started, then shook his head. "Sir, you are sitting in the lap of a creature that could kill you with one bite, and you want us to lower our weapons?" "Yes, it is not going to hurt anyone." "Are you?" Jiho said the last part to the creature, rubbing behind what he thought might be ears. The creature made that humming sound again, deeper and more content than before. Nari looked at his team, then back at Jiho, then at the creature. Slowly, very slowly, he lowered his weapon. His team followed his lead, though none of them looked happy about it. "The council has been trying to contact us," Nari said. "They want to know what is happening. They are preparing to send in heavy weapons teams." "Tell them not to," Jiho said quickly. "Tell them the situation is under control." "Under control," Nari repeated, looking at the destroyed chamber around them. "Sir, the creature destroyed half the council room, killed or injured dozens of guards, and caused a diplomatic incident that might prevent Earth from ever joining the council. I am not sure that counts as under control." "It was an accident," Jiho insisted. "Look at it. Really look. Does this seem like a mindless killer to you?" As if understanding what Jiho was saying, the Void Reaver slowly uncoiled itself and stood up. It moved carefully, avoiding the security team. It walked over to one of the fallen columns and gently pushed it aside, clearing a path to a blocked exit. Then it looked back at Jiho, its scales turning light blue. "It is helping," one of the officers whispered. "It is clearing the debris, see?" Jiho said, standing up and brushing off his suit. "Not a monster, just misunderstood." The creature came back to Jiho's side, lowering its head so it was level with his. Up close, Jiho could see that its eyes were not just red. They had patterns in them, swirls of color that moved like clouds. They were actually quite beautiful. "We need a name for you," Jiho said, reaching up to pat the creature's head. "Purple is Bora in Korean. What do you think of Bora?" The creature made a soft chirping sound that seemed pleased. Its scales flashed purple and blue. "Bora it is then," Jiho said with a smile. "You named it," Nari said flatly. "You named the galaxy's deadliest predator like it is a pet." "Well, technically I suppose it is a pet now," Jiho said. "Or maybe I am its pet. I have not quite figured out that part yet." Before Nari could respond, the communication device on his wrist beeped urgently. He tapped it and listened for a moment, his face growing more serious. "The council wants to see you immediately, Ambassador. They have called an emergency session." "An emergency session? About what?" "About you, sir. About what you just did. Half the council thinks you are a hero who saved them from a Void Reaver. The other half thinks you are insane and dangerous. What do you think?" Jiho asked. Nari looked at Jiho, then at Bora, then back at Jiho. "Sir, I think you are the bravest or stupidest person I have ever met. Maybe both. But you are alive and so is everyone else, so I suppose that counts for something. I will take that as a compliment," Jiho said. He turned to Bora. "I need to go talk to some very angry aliens. Will you be okay here?" Bora made a low, sad sound. Its scales dimmed slightly. I know. I do not want to leave you either. But I need to explain what happened. I will come back, I promise." The creature gently pressed its head against Jiho's chest again, then stepped back. It curled up in a corner of the chamber, its scales shifting to a waiting pattern of dark blue and purple. As Jiho followed Nari and the security team out of the chamber, he could feel dozens of eyes watching him from doorways and behind walls. Word had spread fast. Everyone on the ship now knew that a human had done the impossible. He had touched a Void Reaver and lived. More than that, he had made friends with it. The walk to the council chamber took 20 minutes. Along the way, Jiho saw aliens of every shape and size press themselves against walls as he passed. Some stared with what looked like awe. Others looked terrified. A few looked angry. The new council chamber was smaller than the first one, clearly a backup room for emergencies. Most of the council members were already there, though many were watching via video screens from safe locations. Councillor Day stood at the center, his blue skin darker than before. "Ambassador Jiho," Day said, his voice tight. "Please explain what happened in there. Jiho took a deep breath. This was important. How he explained this would shape how the galaxy saw humanity from now on. He thought about his grandmother again, about her advice on honesty and kindness. The creature was hurt and scared, Jiho began. It was not attacking. It was defending itself. When I removed the debris causing it pain and treated it with kindness instead of violence, it responded peacefully. I believe we have been wrong about Void Reavers. They are not mindless killers. They are intelligent beings that react to how they are treated. The chamber erupted into noise. Some council members shouted in agreement. Others shouted in anger. But Jiho stood firm, his hands clasped behind his back, his face calm. This was just the beginning. Jiho picked himself up from the floor and dusted off his suit. Around him, the chamber was almost empty now. Most of the aliens had escaped or were trapped behind sealed doors. The creature was still there, moving between the broken columns and destroyed walls. Its crystalline scales kept changing colors, flashing from red to orange to something darker. Ambassador Jiho, respond. Nari's voice crackled from somewhere nearby. Jiho saw his translator device on the floor and crawled over to grab it. He put it back in his ear. I am here, he said quietly. Thank the stars. Sir, you need to move now. The emergency seal will activate in 3 minutes. Nari, wait. Look at the creature. Really look at it. There was a pause. Sir, I do not understand. It is a Void Reaver. It is killing everyone. Please run. It is not hunting, Jiho said. His eyes locked on the massive creature. It is hiding. Look at how it moves. It keeps going to the dark corners. It is not chasing anyone. It is defensive. Sir, with respect, you are not a xenobiologist. That thing has destroyed 17 colonies. It has killed thousands of beings. Please, I am begging you, get out of there. But Jiho was not listening anymore. He was watching the creature curl around a fallen column, its massive body trying to fit into a space too small for it. One of its scales was damaged, hanging loose. Around the damaged area, the other scales flickered with a dull brown color. Back on the farm, Jiho's dog had once gotten a thorn stuck in its paw. The dog had growled and snapped at everyone who came near, even Jiho's mother who had raised it from a puppy. But Jiho had sat patiently nearby, talking softly, until the dog calmed down enough to let him help. The dog was not mean. It was hurt, Nari, Jiho said slowly. Turn off the alarm in this section. What? Sir, I cannot do that. Yes, you can. You have emergency override codes. Turn off the alarm. The sound is making it worse. Ambassador, I will be court-martialed for this. I will take full responsibility. Please, Nari, trust me. A long silence followed. Then the screaming alarm stopped. The red lights kept flashing, but the sound was gone. The creature's head lifted, its 6 red eyes scanning the room. Its scales shifted to a slightly lighter shade. Okay, Jiho whispered to himself. Okay, that helped. He stood up slowly, making sure the creature could see him. Its eyes locked onto him immediately. Jiho raised his hands, palms out, showing he had no weapons. He took 1 step forward. Sir, what are you doing? Nari's voice was panicked now. Something very stupid or very smart. I have not decided which yet. Jiho took another step. The creature's scales began to glow brighter. That was the color everyone said meant it was about to attack. Ambassador, stop. That is the attack pattern. When the scales glow like that, it means you have seconds to live. But Jiho did not stop. He kept his hands up and visible. He kept his movements slow and smooth. And he started talking. Hey there, he said in Korean, his voice soft and calm. You are having a bad day, are you not? I know how that feels. My day is not going great either. The creature tilted its massive head like a confused dog. The glowing dimmed just a little. That is it, Jiho continued, taking another step. I am not going to hurt you. Nobody here is going to hurt you anymore. I promise. He was close now, close enough to see the details of the crystalline scales. Close enough to see the damage more clearly. There was something stuck in the creature's side. A large piece of metal debris from the wall it had broken through. The scales around it were cracked and leaking some kind of clear fluid. Oh, you poor thing, Jiho said. That must hurt so much. Is that why you are so angry? Did you get hurt? The creature made a sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was something between a whine and a hum, a sound that made Jiho's chest vibrate. The scales shifted to a purple color that flickered with brown spots. Jiho had no idea what that meant, but the creature had stopped glowing bright red, so he counted that as progress. Sir, the creature's color just changed to something we have never seen before, Nari said through the translator. Our scientists do not know what it means. I think it means confusion, Jiho said. Or maybe curiosity. I am going to touch it now. No. Sir, please do not. Jiho reached out slowly. His hand moved through the air like it was moving through water, giving the creature plenty of time to react if it wanted to attack. His fingers got closer to the scales, closer, and then they made contact. The scales were warm and smooth, like glass that had been sitting in the sun. The creature went completely still, so still that Jiho thought maybe he had made a terrible mistake. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was how Earth's first ambassador died, but the creature did not attack. Instead, it made that humming sound again, louder this time. The purple color spread across its scales like ripples in water, and then slowly, carefully, the massive head moved closer to Jiho's hand. Is that thing nuzzling you? Nari's voice was barely a whisper. I think so, Jiho said, hardly believing it himself. He moved his hand gently across the scales, examining the damaged area. The piece of debris was lodged deep, and the flesh around it looked swollen. You got this stuck in you when you broke through the wall, did you not? You were trying to get help, but everyone just attacked you. The creature made a low sound, almost like agreement. Jiho knew that was probably his imagination, but he did not care. He gently touched the area around the debris. This is going to hurt, he said, but I need to take it out. The wound cannot heal with this still stuck in there. He gripped the metal carefully and pulled. The creature's body tensed and its scales flashed red for a moment. Jiho kept talking in that same soft, calm voice his grandmother had taught him to use with frightened animals. Finally, the debris came free with a wet sound that made Jiho's stomach turn. Clear fluid leaked from the wound, but it quickly slowed to a stop. The creature let out a long breath that sounded almost like relief. Its scales shifted to a solid purple color, brighter than before. Then it did something that Jiho would never forget. The massive creature, the thing that had destroyed colonies and killed thousands, lowered its huge head and gently pressed it against Jiho's chest. It was not pushing. It was leaning on him, the way a tired dog leans on its owner after a long day. Jiho slowly wrapped his arms around what he could reach of the creature's head. You are not a monster, he whispered. You are just scared and hurt and far from home. I understand that feeling. The creature's purr grew louder, making the whole chamber vibrate, and for the first time since the alarm started, Jiho smiled. The massive doors of the council chamber slid open with a deep hum that echoed through the metal walls. Jiho stepped inside, his heart racing despite his calm expression. This was it, the moment Earth had been waiting for. First contact with the Galactic Council, and he was the one chosen to represent all of humanity. The chamber was enormous, far bigger than any stadium he had ever seen back on Earth. Hundreds of alien beings filled the curved rows of seats that rose up toward the ceiling. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated in containers filled with strange liquids, while others stood on more legs than Jiho could count. The air smelled different here, like metal and something sweet he could not name. Jiho walked forward, his shoes clicking on the smooth floor. Every pair of eyes, or what he assumed were eyes, turned to watch him. He kept his back straight and his face friendly. His grandmother had always told him that a smile could open more doors than a key. He hoped that was true even in space. Ambassador Jiho of Earth, a voice boomed through the chamber. It came from everywhere at once, translated into perfect Korean by the device in his ear. Welcome to the Galactic Council. We have waited long to meet your species. A tall being stood at the center of the room. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water and wore robes that changed colors as it moved. This was Counselor Day, the leader of the council. Jiho had studied everything Earth scientists knew about him, which was not much. Thank you, Counselor, Jiho said, bowing slightly. Earth is honored to join the community of worlds. The ceremony began. One by one, different species stood and welcomed Earth to the galaxy. Some speeches were short, others went on for what felt like hours. Jiho listened carefully, making mental notes of which species seemed friendly and which seemed suspicious of the newcomers. He was halfway through his own speech about Earth's hopes for peace and cooperation when the lights flickered, once, then twice. A low grinding sound filled the chamber, and Jiho felt the floor vibrate beneath his feet. The alien voices around him rose in confusion. Counselor Day raised one hand, calling for silence. What is happening? He demanded. Before anyone could answer, alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed along the walls. The grinding sound grew louder, closer, Then came a sound that made Jiho's blood run cold. It was like metal being torn apart, mixed with something alive and angry. "Void Reaver," someone shouted. "Void Reaver on the ship." The chamber exploded into chaos. Aliens rushed toward the exits, pushing and shoving. Some could fly and took off toward the ceiling. Others were so large they could barely move through the crowd. Jiho stood frozen, not understanding what was happening. A creature burst through the wall. Not through a door, but straight through the thick metal wall like it was made of paper. Jiho's mouth fell open. The thing was massive, at least 15 meters long. Its body looked like it was made of crystal and shadow mixed together. 6 glowing red eyes focused on the crowd, and its mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth that dripped with something that hissed when it hit the floor. The floor where the liquid landed melted. Just melted away like ice under hot water. "Security teams engage." Counselor Day's voice tried to sound calm but failed. "Everyone else evacuate immediately." Soldiers appeared from hidden doors wearing armor that looked far more advanced than anything on Earth. They fired weapons that shot beams of blue light at the creature. The beams hit the crystalline scales and bounced off harmlessly. One beam reflected back and struck a wall, leaving a smoking hole. The creature moved fast, too fast for something so large. Its tail whipped around and caught 3 soldiers, sending them flying across the chamber. When they hit the wall, they did not get up. The creature's scales began to glow brighter, shifting from red to orange. "Fall back," a soldier shouted. "Weapons are ineffective." More soldiers arrived, but the result was the same. Their weapons did nothing. The creature tore through them like they were made of paper. Jiho watched in horror as the galaxy's finest warriors were defeated in seconds. He looked around for an exit, but the crowd blocked every door. People were screaming in languages he could not understand, even with his translator. The device in his ear was picking up too many voices at once, creating a horrible noise. The creature moved into the center of the chamber now, its massive body coiling around the support columns. Each column was as thick as a tree trunk, but the creature's strength crushed them like twigs. The ceiling groaned and began to crack. Jiho heard a voice in his ear, breaking through the noise. "Ambassador, this is Nari from security." "Can you hear me?" "Yes," Jiho said, relieved to hear Korean again. "Yes, I can hear you. You need to get out now. The Council is activating emergency protocols. They are going to seal that section and jettison it into space in 5 minutes. What? But there are still people here. They have decided it is the only way to save the ship. Please, Ambassador, run." But Jiho could not run. The crowd was too thick and he was being pushed backward, away from the exits. He stumbled and fell, hitting the ground hard. His translator device flew from his ear and skittered across the floor. From his position on the ground, Jiho had a clear view of the creature. It was destroying everything around it, but something seemed wrong. The way it moved, the way it kept retreating to the darker corners of the chamber, the way its scales flickered between colors. Jiho had grown up on a farm before moving to the city. He had seen plenty of animals in pain or scared. He had seen dogs that bit because they were hurt, not because they were mean. He had seen horses that kicked because they were afraid, not because they were evil. This creature, this thing that was destroying the Council's finest soldiers, looked scared. Everyone else was running away, trying to escape. Security forces were regrouping, probably planning a bigger attack. But Jiho just lay there on the floor, watching the creature that everyone called a monster, and he wondered if maybe, just maybe, everyone had it wrong.